My name is Mark Murray, and I'm not afraid to say I have toxic parents. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about toxic parents. Before you even judge me, think about it for a second. Ask yourself this question: is my parent toxic?
Who is having that conversation?
I was trying to run away from this topic, if I can be honest with you guys, and I decided that I'll finally confront it and have a discussion. So earlier I said I have toxic parents. You might want to judge me. You might want to form your opinions already without even listening to what I have to say. I was not fortunate to grow up with my parents, uh, my mom or my dad. I grew up with my grandmother. I knew who my mom was, but we never really had a relationship coming up as a child. When she brought me to Georgetown and left me with my grandmother, I never saw her back until years later. I was 3, I saw her back somewhere when I was 9. And the last words I remembered were, "I will come back tomorrow for you." She did not explain to me at that age that she was not coming back, that I was going to live with my grandmother at that time. Myself and other siblings, we were separated. Apparently, she was doing something with some house, and I don't know. And we all went somewhere and stay. She went back for everyone. She went back for everyone except me. So days would pass, months would pass, years would pass, and I would be waiting for her to come back, and she never did. Long story short, so my grandmother took on the role of my parent. Mm, this is hard. And I live with those words, and I still remember those words, and I even confronted her about those words. But as a child and growing up, that affected me, as simple as it seemed. I questioned things a lot, and I asked myself, why is it my parents don't want me? Um, I did not know who my dad was. I found out who my dad was while living with my grandmother, and then he came. He's like, "I'm your father," and I'm like, "I don't know you." And even with my grandmother being his mom, he didn't even play what should I say, an active role in my life. So I hated that. His child mother, she, I don't know what it was, but it's like for the simplest things I used to get lashes. And when I'm around her, um, I don't know if she hated me or what it was, but when he was around, she was the most loving person, and she's caring, and she would, show you this face. All of his children mother, they were not the same. I remember a few. They were really nice. But all, no, this particular one, she was the worst. But this is my story, and I will say, it's a learning experience. So there was that from him, and then coming back to my grandmother. Over the years, I would say she taught me some valuable lessons. She was she prepared me for life, and even though it might seem as if I was not paying attention to her upbringing, I was. Certain decisions or certain values that I now have, it's because of her. And I thank her for that. And I even told her, like probably 2 or 3 years ago, we had a conversation about all of this because she understood that I didn't like these things, hollering, hitting or so she found a different way to discipline me. However, she too was toxic for me because she would try to manipulate you, and that's a trait most parents have in Guyana. It's something I look at. They try to make you feel guilty. You know, that guilt trip. They provide food, they provide shelter, they were there for you, and now you have to be there for them, and they demand. I say demand. It's not like they're having conversations, and out of those conversations, you say, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. They make you feel guilty, they make you feel as if you have to, and you're obligated because they did this for you as a child. Nobody go to the parents and say, hey, I want to be born. And that is a toxic trait for any parent to have. We give in and we would start to put value as to who we allow to manipulate us, and that starts with our parents. So when you see you're a very easy person to be manipulated and you ask yourself, why am I so gullible? It could be because you feel a sense of guilt, and this is something practiced by your parents. So now it's filtering into your other aspects of life, and it's easy to be manipulated. I'm not saying all parents do this. I'm just saying my parents, and by extension my guardian, they did it. So now I know, and that's why I have like a big block right now, a defense mechanism to people who I feel they're trying to manipulate me. It's easy for me to see it. It's easy for me to identify it. It's easy for me to say, hey, what you're trying to do is to guilt trip me and manipulate me, and I will not have it. So, and even the person doing it, they don't even realize it's behavior that they learned. So those are traits that, you know, you just don't grow up having. It's nurtured. And then there's more of a self-centered, you know, they think as if everything is about them, and they try to make you feel bad. And whenever you have like a genuine concern or a problem, they're not there. They're unemotionally available. Another area I would say I experience is being compared to another. And this one basically, it's on my mom's end. My dad, we never really had all of that time around each other for him to compare me to anyone, and if he did, he never showed it or said it. But my mom, she did. And she would do it because I did not grow up with her, and she'd make the example, why you can't be like this sibling or that sibling, you know? And she'd be like, oh, you grow up too soft, you're nothing like them, and da 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 da. And it made me feel some type of way, and made me want to be like that sibling that she was referring to. But then I, over time, realized that I could only be me. As parents, as much as they're integral in our life and they play a very important role, they sometimes forget that boundaries do apply to them. Because in our community, and I mean black people, we hear jokes about, I brought you into this world and I will take you out. Stop for a second, think about it, how toxic that is. Then there's the silent treatment. Your parents ever give you the silent treatment? Yup. I've gotten the silent treatment from my grandmother, from my mom, from my dad. All because you don't want to do something they don't want. They don't want you to do, and you still went ahead and do it, so now they're not talking to you, they pull away. This is a big one too. Parents feeling as if children need to take care of them. Why on earth Caribbean parents, more specifically, feel as if as long as they have a child, that child is obligated and that child should take care of them as soon as they reach a working age. Mind you, this is out of high school. And you know what's funny about that? When parents tell themselves you should take care of them, and as soon as you reach the age they're ready, they were not even there preparing you for life, preparing you for what it is to be an adult. You're still a child. And my heart goes out to those who never got the chance to be a child because they were forced to be an adult at an early age and to provide for their family also, while some parents work alongside them, or some parents just didn't work. Things like that, it aches my heart. It makes me feel some type of way, and I would say I feel it, and I know, because I know what is it to grow up poor, or to struggle, or to not have. So I know the need for people to do what they have to do, and even if it means the children helping out. But I'm not saying it's acceptable. As adults, you have a responsibility to protect and provide for your children, not take advantage of them, not manipulate them, not make them feel as if it's their fault that they're in that situation. I'm not blaming, but all I'm saying, you fail to prepare for that child. No sense you struggling and then the child comes struggling too. Some children get out of that, while others, that's the end of them. And it's a cycle that continues because they grew up in that poverty cycle and they don't know better, and they don't try to aim for better. And before time, we have a society with a population that is just going round and round and round and round because nobody's breaking the cycle, nobody's trying to do better. And there are very few cases that children, they aim to do better. And I would say my childhood wasn't pretty. It wasn't a 5-star vacation. It was a journey and a half. And even throughout all that I went through, I tried to compose myself, and I tried to focus and say, hey, this is what I went through and this is what I do not want in my future. Of course, parents always say they're right.
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
This is so true, because I had cases with my grandmother where she was wrong. There were cases that I confronted her and I was like, Granny, you said this and you said that, but that's not true, or it's not right. She was like, I already said it, so what? As simple as that might seem, that's a toxic trait. You know, sometimes parents on this side of the world, they take on that position and there's nothing you can tell them. You know, they got some parents and some people, you know, like your relatives, you can't talk to them because you know they tell themselves they're always right, and they always pull in the trump card, I'm older. And to be honest, growing up with my grandmother and hearing that, there was a period in my life you couldn't tell me shit. You couldn't. I used to think that I'm always right. Do I think I'm always right now? No. Because I realize we make mistakes, and not everything you know and everything you do is right. You have to leave room for correction, and that is a big step. So you have to accept that you're not perfect and you are willing to be corrected. And there are parents that you can't tell them nothing. You just can't. We in the Caribbean know about the rolling pin, the card, the hanger, the wet cloth, and the shoe. Anything close to your parents' hand, run, duck, don't come back. You gotta go away. And I can laugh about it now, but as a child, that instills some kind of fear in you of your parent.
Girl, I start beating like my head in good. Left, right, and center, girl. I beat from Ivy wrong to Ivy right. Girl, I don't play with you.
And as children, you shouldn't grow up fearing your parent, because that person should be there to love you. That person should be there to protect you. And if you have fear right in your home that should be safe, when you're out in the world and someone shows you kindness, you're going to be drawn to that. And that is when they take advantage of your vulnerability. In the Caribbean as a whole, parenting is different. I would want to say it's very toxic, because especially for a guy coming up, when you're coming up, you must not show emotions. You must act a certain way. You must have more than one sexual partners. You must not stick to one. And on the flip side, you're telling the girls they should make a nice housewife, they should have one partner, and they should take the time and all these things, but yet you're encouraging the guy to be promiscuous. And then when he gets into society, those girls that you prepare, they're taken advantage of because you raise a jerk. So now the girls are feeling the brunt of that. And then there's some girls who grew up in a society or an environment where you're seeing your mother, there's a Monday man, Tuesday man, Wednesday man, Thursday man, Friday man, light bill man, GPL man, top up man. So when you see your daughter mirroring that behavior, you're calling she a slut, you're calling she a whore, you're calling she a know nothing, and you fail to realize that as a parent, it's your fault because they did not know better. Talking about this is not anything bad. I think it's a healthy way of coping, healing, and confronting your own trauma, whatever that might be. And this is just another avenue of you recognizing there was a problem and now you want to fix it. It's something you don't get over today, tomorrow, next month, or next year. It's a life journey, I want to say. It's a life journey because we're never over these things. Dealing with toxic parents, you have to put up boundaries. You have to decide, this is what I have to do for my mental health. Yes, I told you, we're always going to come back to self, and we're always going to talk about that need for protecting your mental space. And that's the only way we can achieve change, positive change around us, by being the change we would like to see. And with setting those boundaries, it means cutting off those toxic parents. Don't be afraid to cut off your parents. You can love them from a distance. You don't need to be close if they're toxic. If you recognize that your parents, they're not changing, cut them off. Just like how you would cut off a toxic intimate relationship or a friendship, nothing wrong cutting off your parents, because let your absence be a lesson for them. And if they're learning from that, then it's clear to you that there's no hope of change anytime soon. But pray for your parents, respect your parents. I'm not saying be disrespectful. You could be from a distance and keep your peace. Maintain your peace. So I'm saying I have toxic parents because I realized they were only there for a season and a reason. And when I put up that boundary, then all of that was clearer to me what was happening. And my dad, I've never heard the word I love you. And that is another issue that I think we need to address in our society. Men showing affection and men talking to one another about various issues, especially that emotion. Caribbean men, we're told to be quiet, not to cry, man up, be there, be the provider. And if you show any of those signs, then you're an auntie man, you're a sissy, you're a faggot, you know, you're not a guy. You're not supposed to be human, you know? And being human includes being emotional. But the question is, who determines what is masculine and who determines what is feminine? So as Caribbean people, we have to ask ourselves, are we really raising our boys the right way? You know, our parents, they play the first step in our life and how we portray ourselves as individuals. So if we're exposed to all of these types of toxic behavior, when you have a fucked up individual in society, don't ask yourself why this person stay like that. They ain't got no morals, they ain't got no ethics. Take a moment and ask, what is really the underlying issue or issues that is causing this person to behave like this? I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying it's a fact that a child just don't be bad because they want to be bad. There is something that is affecting that child, because sometimes they're exposed to one or all of these toxic traits that we're talking about today. So we have to be very careful. And if we're going to be parents in the future, and for those of us who are already parents, this is not an attack on you, but it's to help you to improve your parenting skill. And ask yourself these questions. Think about your childhood. Was my parents physically, verbally, mentally abusive towards me, or is still? And then, was I scared of my parents growing up, or am I still scared of them? And do I feel guilty whenever I have a interaction with my parents and they leave? Am I left feeling overwhelmed? You're filled with emotions? And if you answer yes to these two simple questions, then I will tell you, you are not the problem. Your parents, they're the problem. It's as simple as that. Your parents, they're the problem. However, it is not your place to judge them. It is not your place to condemn them. If you so want to help your parents, have a conversation, be frank. Tell them how you feel and ask them, why is it you do this? Why is it you do that? You know, this was not good or whatever. I had that conversation with my grandmother 3 years ago. And for the first time I heard from her, I am sorry. And the first time I heard from her, I did not know how to deal with the situation. I was never trained to deal with situations like that. And I took a moment and I paused and I was like, shit. So she wasn't aware of what she was doing. And sometimes we have to cut our parents a slack and give them the benefit of the doubt. But that doesn't mean you have to entertain it and allow it and feel guilty by it. So I hope that today's recording, I'm not trying to hate at nobody. I'm just trying to bring this to the table and for us to have more conversations about it. While today's topic was very heavy for me, I didn't want to let this all be about my story and we take away nothing. And I'm a living example of don't allow your situation to get the best of you, aka turn your mess into your success. So even though you might be exposed to parents or guardians with toxic traits, you still have a chance to be a better person, to be what they failed to be in your life. So I was just using bits and parts of my story to encourage you to know that life goes on and you don't have to hold on to these things. If you really want to help and you really want to heal, start from within and start protecting you. And by doing that, the right energy is going to come to you and you're going to be able to be a better person and by extension help those around you, especially your parents, if they're open to that. I must apologize if I just went on and on and on and on about some stuff, but it's a hard one and I'm trying to be uncandid and sincere as I can when it comes to these topics, because I don't want to talk about something I don't know and I didn't experience. Not saying I would shy away from it, but I want you guys to have a part of me that can be a part of you and help you in becoming a better you.